everybody in? Is everybody in? Alright, Accelerationist Part 2. The Accelerationist Freeze of Nick Fuentes Part 2. Imperial Sadity and the Closed Horizon. On American Abundance, Capitalist Realism, and the Exhaustion of Exit. On American Abundance, Capitalist Realism, and the Exhaustion of Exit. We were given an extraordinary gift. It feels hollow, but it's irresistible. Everyone is unhappy, yet no one can imagine an alternative. The Accidental Empire. American hegemony was not forged through total sacrifice, but through timing, insulation, and asymmetry. Entering the Second World War late, absorbing limited domestic devastation, and inheriting a shattered competitor class, the United States emerged not merely victorious, but structurally advantaged. The collapse of the British imperial system did not leave a vacuum so much as a handover. Reserve currency status transformed power into permission. The ability to issue debt endlessly, denominated in one's own currency and eagerly absorbed by global markets, removed traditional constraints that discipline states. Fiscal gravity, weakened postponement, becomes policy. This was not earned discipline, but a windfall. Empire arrived as a gift rather than a burden, shaping a political culture accustomed to abundance without commensurate sacrifice. Paradise without meaning. Contemporary America is not drab, austere, or materially deprived. It is lush with consumables, conveniences, and optional pleasures. The 5-minute walk to a grocery store stocked with unnecessary abundance is not a trivial detail. It is the experiential foundation of consent. This is not the gray stagnation of late socialism. It is color, choice, novelty, and ease. Material life contradicts declension narratives, even as existential dissatisfaction deepens. The system delivers pleasure while withholding purpose. Hollowness does not negate attraction. A society can be spiritually empty and still overwhelmingly preferable to alternatives. This is the core strength of the present order. Capitalist realism is not belief in capitalism's goodness, but resignation to the inevitability. It is the sense that even flawed abundance is inescapable, that resistance is quaint, and that exit is unimaginable. The supermarket of infinitely cheap luxury goods defeats ideology at the level of daily life. Radical critique falters not in theory but in practice, dissolving under comfort, convenience, and entertainment. The system persists not because it convinces, but because it habituates. People do not defend it passionately, they merely live inside it. Failed right-wing challenge. Much of the right-wing critique correctly identifies fragility beneath abundance. Financialization, deindustrialization, and dependence on external labor and capital. Yet diagnosis does not equal mobilization. Oppositional projects that require people to abandon diversity, novelty, and ease confront revealed preference. The city outcompetes the commune. Pluralism outperforms purity. Withdrawal projects collapse into boredom. When racial traditionalist appeals require persuasion rather than resonance, they have already lost. Identity that must be explained is no longer lived. Liberalism, unkillable center. 1990s liberalism persists not because it inspires, but because it stabilizes. It offers manageable dissatisfaction rather than existential risk. It promises continuity, not transcendence. Woke politics briefly disrupts this equilibrium but fails to generate a durable alternative order. It retreats Its retreat did not open space for transformation, it restored managerial normalcy. Thus, the center survives every crisis by absorbing critique, shedding excess, and reasserting competence. Lost utopian field. The 20th century offered genuine exits, fascism, communism, and competing civilizational projects that plausibly imagined total replacement. These ideologies mobilized sacrifice because they promised destiny. Their disappearance has left dissatisfaction without direction. Everyone senses decay, but no one can articulate a future that justifies risk. Without utopia, critique becomes diagnosis without cure. Discontent circulates but never crystallizes. I might recall Young, but I'm not really that much into him. I got some Philip K. Dick coming up, and Jason Giorgiani for sure. I definitely Google those guys' names. Sustainability in question. The present order rests on assumptions that may not hold indefinitely. Endless appetite for American debt, tolerance for deindustrialization, and confidence in governance amid complexity. Cracks appear not as collapse but as drift, declining infrastructure qualities, safety failures, and institutional thinning. These are not moral failures but structural consequences of financial abstraction. That's good, man. Hopefully I get some better stuff. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what the audience wants, where I can take them. I'm using this Nick Fuentes. It's just a popular grift, and then we'll move into deeper thinking. That's why the recursive radicalism of Nick Fuentes is just the looping of radicalism, which is entertaining. I don't have any problem with them. Globalization's wager that production, population, and capital can all be deterritorialized without consequence remains unresolved rather than refuted. Deferred nationalism. Nationalism may not be chosen, it may arrive by necessity. A system strain, localization, and protection emerge not as ideology but as repair mechanisms. The question is not whether this happens, but how and under what conditions. Managed adjustment differs radically from panic response. Prediction alone does not confer control. Waiting for collapse is not strategy. Yeah, I'm aware of that one. I haven't read it. What's that other one? What's that one? It's like philosophy and I'm trying to think. It's not Bronze Age pervert, but it's in that domain. But yeah, harassment architecture. I'll have to check it out. Despite inertia, the system contains immense stored energy. Pandemics, multiple polarity, and economic realignment demonstrate that rapid change is possible. The uncertainty lies in direction. Energy released without form becomes chaos rather than renewal. Aren't both those books kind of like novels, though? Are they philosophical texts, Gothic violence, and harassment architecture? I think that's probably why I didn't read them, because they're like novels. I used to read this, there used to be this subject, it's called anarchist monarchism, monarchist anarchist. Salvador Dali kind of brought it up, and then some theorist actually extended the theory, the ideology of anarchist monarchist. Anyways, let's keep going. Acceleration and risk. Accelerationism arises when reform appears impossible. If abundance blocks change, only deprivation seems capable of reopening history. Yeah, I'll check it out. This is not hope, but gamble. Things may get worse without getting better. Collapse does not guarantee reconstruction. Yet the wager persists that only when comfort fails will imagination return. The closed horizon. The present is experienced as precarious, yet unescapable. Empire feels hollow, fragile, and overstretched, but still dominant. Everyone senses the end of something, yet no one can name what comes next. This is the defining condition of the moment. A civilization unable to believe in itself, yet unable to imagine its replacement. Empire, acceleration, and the contradiction of nationalism. On geopolitics as first cause, the American frontier, and the destructive ambiguity of America first. Violence comes first and then the economy. Free trade is a military project. American nationalism is a contradiction built on imperial abundance. Acceleration reframed. Acceleration in its Leninist sense is not a belief in progress but a wager on collapse. The conviction that worsening conditions hasten historical clarity. It assumes that systems reveal their truth only when strained beyond repair. This is distinct from technological futurism. It is a political theology of breakdown. Within this frame, the question is not whether decline is desirable, but whether decline is inevitable and therefore exploitable. Accelerationism does not celebrate destruction for its own sake. It treats destruction as a solvent that dissolves illusions. The ambiguity lies in agency. One may hasten collapse intentionally, stumble into it incompetently, or merely fail to prevent it. Only hindsight determines whether an actor accelerates history or merely presides over its momentum. Geopolitics as first principle. Politics precedes economics and violence precedes both. Markets do not arise spontaneously from goodwill. They are stabilized by force, law, and credible threat of coercion. Free trade is not the absence of power, but its successful concealment. Sea lanes, airspace, currency regimes, and contractual enforcements are not neutral infrastructures. They are geopolitical achievements maintained through military expenditure and strategic dominance. The libertarian fantasy of commerce without guns reverses causality. Thus, the American economic order rests on post-war supremacy, naval policing, alliance systems, and the willingness to intervene. Remove these conditions and the economy does not purify, it fragments. The post-war imperial gift. American abundance is historically contingent, not civilizationally intrinsic. It emerges from a unique sequence: late entry into World War, minimal homeland destruction, and industrial primacy in the collapse of rival empires. Reserve currency status converts victory into structural advantage. The ability to print money absorbed by global demands insulates domestic policy from hard trade-offs. Scarcity was deferred, not eliminated. This produced an empire experienced not as domination, but as normalcy. Living standards came to feel earned rather than inherited. Well, maybe I'll wear them out. Hopefully I wear them out. This isn't even about IQ. These are just, they're supposed to be fractured statements. I'm more into the poetic, improvisational tangents. I don't care for truth and evidence. I just care for new invention. Check out my art at zuccagallery.com. Google the name Abe Zucca. See what you find on social media. I have an X account, but it never really did anything. So there's a lot of good stuff on there too. The frontier without borders. The American frontier was never a border, it was an invitation. Unlike European frontiers defined by confrontation, the American frontier signified openness, expansion, and exit. It trained citizens to think spatially rather than nationally. Frederick Jackson Turner correctly intuited this, and this condition shaped the American psyche. Identity was not forged through defense of territory, but through movement into space. As a result, American nationhood remains thin. Tradition was portable, identity optional, and belonging transactional. American nationalism often retrojects a European model onto an imperial reality. It speaks of peoplehood, tradition, and borders in a polity historically defined by flux, incorporation, and scale. The founding myths, pilgrims, settlers, open land, are myths of refusal and escape, not rooted continuities. They celebrate departure from inherited order rather than preservation of it. In this sense, nationalism in the American context is less a recovery than a reinvention, often contradicting the very history it claims to defend. MAGA's internal contradiction. America first presumes a nation capable of withdrawal, yet American living standards presuppose empire. That's very important. America first presumes a nation capable of withdrawal, yet America living standards presuppose empire. The comforts of daily life are downstream from global extraction, financial dominance, and enforced openness. To reject empire while demanding imperial consumption is incoherent. Isolation would not enrich the populace, it would reinforce costs long externalized. Thus, MAGA contains a latent accelerant. By challenging the imperial foundations of prosperity without offering an alternative structure, it gestures towards collapse rather than reform. War, empire, and naivety. Opposition to specific wars does not entail opposition to war as such. Empire operates through selective violence. Poor wars weaken power, but no wars dissolve it. The belief that closing bases or ending interventions automatically yields peace misunderstands human rivalry. Power vacuums invite contestation. Withdrawal intensifies conflict rather than resolving it. Republican innocence, the idea that America was ever a non-imperial republic, is a retrospective fiction. Expansion, incorporation, and dominance have defined its history since its inception. Identity without stasis. There was never a stable America demographic moment to return to. Cities often invoked as authentic, New York in the 1940s, Chicago in its industrial prime, were already products of mass migration and imperial economy. American identity crystallized in the 20th century, not the 18th. It was forged through industry, war, and global integration, not colonial homogeneity. To mistake this contingent moment for eternal essence is to confuse memory with origin. Acceleration as a byproduct. Trump's role, if accelerative, lies less in ideology than in destruction. Institutions weakened, norms eroded, alliances strained. These effects compound regardless of intent. Acceleration here is not strategic but entropic. Systems lose coherence faster than alternatives can form. Whether this hastens renewal or collapse cannot be known in advance. Acceleration is always a gamble against time. So the coming test, as multipolarity emerges, the imperial subsidy that sustains American normalcy will diminish. Scarcity, trade-offs, and conflict will re-enter domestic politics. The decisive question is not whether nationalism is correct, but whether any political form can reconcile democratic expectations with post-imperial reality. Acceleration may reveal truth, but it does not guarantee wisdom. History teaches clarity through suffering, not foresight. The unanswered question: America cannot simply choose to be a nation if its material life depends on empire, nor can it remain an empire without paying costs long deferred. Between these poles lies the unresolved contradiction of the present, a polity unsure whether to reform, retrench, or burn through illusions until necessity decides. So that's going to be the end of part 2. Like and subscribe. Check out my website, zuccagallery.com, and I'll see you guys later.